Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction video. The video is from Bindi Marc and the video title is Were We Ready for Sisterlocks? Micro Dreadlocks Count the Cost. And this video was uploaded in April of 2020 and I remember watching it back then in 2020 and I thought it was a very interesting video and I wanted to do a reaction to it, so let's get into it.
Can you afford, or at the very least commit to Sisterlocks and or microlocks, or really any hairstyle for that matter? I find that especially while we are in a situation where many people are under stay-at-home orders, I'm realizing that when people are coming online and making these videos about how they can't maintain their microlocks, they can't maintain their Sisterlocks, it really stands out to me as people, whether they did it kind of unknowingly, but they failed to count the cost before they made the commitment. Sometimes even outside of the pandemic, get a high number of locks and then a couple months in we'll realize that they are struggling to keep up with the financial cost of the maintenance. And again, this is why I want to bring to your attention, before going ahead and jumping in to a hairstyle that does require consistent maintenance, count the cost. Literally sit down with your finances. Can you commit to setting aside X amount of dollars to fund the maintenance of your hair?
So that was our first point, counting the cost, but the monetary cost, how much money it will cost not only to install the locks, but also to maintain the locks. It is actually very important to sit down, and I've mentioned this in my videos before as well. It is very important to sit down and really go over your budget, see if you are tight in your budget, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, this hairstyle might not be for you, because you have to not only pay for your installation, but also pay every month or every month and a half to 2 months to maintain your hair. So this is very important. But this is something that we talk very freely about in the Sisterlocks community. So I don't think that this is any secret for anyone who is looking into getting Sisterlocks or very tiny microlocks.
Another aspect of counting the cost before just going ahead and committing is also determining within yourself, in the event that you can't get to a service provider, you're not able to get to your consultant or your loctician, are you able to maintain your hair on your own, or is there someone in your household who can stand in the gap and do your hair for you while you're unable to get to a professional? This too is also a part of counting the cost, if you will.
This second point is absolutely on point, and that's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to just sit down and talk about this. It is absolutely the truth. And it's not only about the pandemic, it can be any reason, any situation. Something can happen that will prevent you from going to your loctician. What will you do? I personally think that it's hard to evaluate before getting Sisterlocks if you're going to be able to maintain your hair yourself, unless you were super good with doing your hair before. Like I know people who do their own extension braids. I've never been able to do that myself. I just learned how to do extensions on my daughter because she likes to wear extensions. I'm not super good at it, but she doesn't mind the way I do them. But honestly, for somebody who is trying to, like me for example, I'm getting away from doing my hair with getting Sisterlocks, and I am absolutely dependent on my Sisterlocks consultant because I can't do my hair myself. And okay, so I can learn to do my hair myself, but right now I can't do it. Right now I have this thing, because I didn't take the class, because I have this thing in my head that makes me think that I can't do it. I'm not doing it, even though I should be learning. So counting the cost, the pandemic has shown us that when everything shuts down, we can't get to a loctician within the 4 to 6 weeks that we're used to. What do we do? When you install your Sisterlocks, it is important, I would say, within the first year that you take the Sisterlocks retightening class so that you can retighten your own hair in the event of anything happening. That's my advice. So that very early on, you know your abilities, you know your capabilities, and some people will even know their abilities before installing the locks. But sometimes you're hard-headed, you like the style, that's what you want, and so you're like, it doesn't matter, I will learn after. That is not a problem. If you decide to install Sisterlocks and you decide to learn to retighten your hair later on, even though you're not super good with your hands, you don't have fine motor skills, like great fine motor skills, like my fine motor skills are so bad. But if you are willing, you say, okay, so I'm gonna do these locks and I'm gonna learn, because it's important to learn. It's important to be your own fallback plan if something happens. So that's what I advise. That's what I think is the best thing.
I'm not actually a believer in people being dependent on another person for their personal grooming. And I'm saying that as someone who maintains my own hair and also offers the service professionally. I don't want clients coming to me because they have to. I don't want people dependent on me. People who are dependent are not empowered. And people who are not empowered are, in a sense, in a way, kind of enslaved. I don't want people coming to me because they have to, or because they're enslaved, because they don't know how to take care of their hair. So I always ask people, are you someone who has, one, considered the cost? Have you set aside the financial means? Are you able to commit to the financial cost that it's going to take to maintain your locks? And secondarily, are you someone who's coming to me because you're completely dependent? That's not a good spot to be in either.
Well, that point drives it home for me, because this is absolutely what I did. I absolutely got Sisterlocks because I didn't want to have to do my hair myself. So I kind of guaranteed that somebody was going to do my hair for me for the long run. That's what I did. But I don't advise it. I don't think it's a good idea to go into getting Sisterlocks with this mindset. It is a good thing to want to pamper yourself. It's a good thing to get a hairstyle that you like, that you think looks pretty and that you want to get. It's a good thing. However, it really is important that you realize that you cannot just depend on a hairstylist. It's not like getting color that you will do once in a while, and that if something happens and you can't go, it's not a problem. It's a different kind of dependency than any other hairstyles that you've ever had. Like, I was relaxed. So when you have a relaxer, you do have to visit a stylist to relax your hair. But very early on in my life, I learned how to do my relaxer myself, and I never really had to go to the stylist to do my relaxer. I went because I wanted to when I went, and then at some point I never really wanted to anymore. So I did my relaxer myself for the last few years before doing the big chop. I did my relaxer myself because I wanted to do it myself, because I wanted to take control of my hair care. I was on the forums, I was on the blogs, I was on the websites, you know, all that. And I felt like I had enough knowledge and that I could do it for myself. So it's not the same as that at all. It's a technical skill. It's something so specialized that it's harder to find somebody. Depending on where you live, sometimes it's like there's no one else. And so you have to learn yourself how to do your hair. And maybe that was not your mindset in the beginning. Maybe in the beginning you really wanted somebody to do your hair for you, but it's good to go into it knowing that eventually you will have to learn to do your hair yourself, and it will happen that you will not be able to go get your hair done, and that it would be best if you knew how to do it yourself.
Now, on the bright side, it's not all gloom and doom. If you decided, if you failed to count the cost ahead of time and you either just don't have the money to keep up with the maintenance, or you have the money but you just found yourself in a situation where you can't get to a service provider, or, you always have the option of combining. That's the beauty of having really small locks. Just like myself, I started out with over 700 locks and then decided, for a lot of reasons that I went over in some previous videos, but also I just didn't want to maintain that many locks, and I had the option to combine. So that's the beautiful side of having small locks, is if you decide, you know what, this is a little bit too small, or this is a little bit too much maintenance, or it's a little bit too much money, you can always join your locks together, and that can kind of get you back into an area where you're a little bit more empowered and independent if need be.
Well, yes, when I installed my locks, that was something that I told myself. I was like, if it becomes too much, I will just have to combine my locks. But right now, I love my hair too much. There's no way I can even think about combining right now. I mean, never say never. I'm not going to say never, but I'd rather sit down and learn how to retighten my hair, learn how to get good at it, learn how to have a system. Like if I have a system and I know, okay, so I retighten my hair every 6 weeks and this is how I do it, and it takes me X amount of hours, I think that I'll be good with that. But the pandemic has shown me that even if you do your due diligence, when you start Sisterlocks, a good idea is to have another loctician or two on your roster, just in case there's something that happens and you can call somebody else than your preferred loctician. However, if the government decides that you can't go anywhere, you can't go see your loctician and you can't go see your backup loctician, you need to know how to do for yourself. So you can be lucky. I was lucky. My appointments were pushed back a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. But I would not advise somebody to just not have a backup plan. You have to have a backup plan.
If you are someone with locks really of any size, and you are someone who counted the cost ahead of time, share what you did. Share some tips below about some of the things that you considered to help you make your decision on whether to get locks at all, what size they were. If you did go ahead and count the cost financially, how did you carve out money in your budget and make sure that you had funds set aside every 4 to 6 weeks, whatever the interval is, and made sure that you had that available for your hair?
That was a great video. I couldn't have said it better myself. It is super important that you guys realize that when you decide to get super tiny locks, it is going to be something. It is going to affect your life. It's not the same as taking care of natural hair, but I think it's equivalent. Like having tiny locks is not always the great thing that we all want it to be. Sometimes it can be a burden. So just keep that in mind. Just be aware. Like sometimes we get excited and we forget that maybe certain things are going to be hard and certain things are going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Maybe what we're doing is we're in denial. Maybe that's what I did. Maybe I was in denial when I first started and I decided that I wanted to get super tiny locks. I was in denial that it was going to always be great and it was always going to be the best decision, when knowing now what I know, it can't always be great. Anything that you do in life is not always going to be fantastic. You know, it's the same as getting married, having children. You know, it's beautiful. It's something that we all, well, most of us want and we all hope for, we all pray for. But sometimes when you're in it, it's hard. So it's the same with Sisterlocks. I love my locks. Like I said, I would not combine them right now. I'm not really thinking about that, but I have these thoughts in my head and they have to come out. These thoughts like, oof, I've been shouting the greatness of Sisterlocks. I have to also share. It's not always great. It's not always fun. It's not always amazing. Sometimes there are things about your locks that you're like, oh, whoa, what if I had chosen to do something else? So this is it, my reaction to Bindi's video. I thought her video when I watched it last year was great. It was in the beginning of the pandemic when she came out with it, and it still right now to me resonates. It's still very much a great topic that we need to discuss, especially for people who are not yet committed to one lock style over another. The people who decided to get micro locks or people who decided to get traditional locks have also reasons why they chose those types of locks. And I'm interested in hearing everybody's story, everybody's reasons. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Don't forget to like and comment. Of course, I'd like to know, how did you count the cost? Did you count the cost? Not just the monetary cost, but also the time and the skill. Did you count all the costs? Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.